not that different from 0, so that there would be no correlation, or that the alternative is that there is a significant difference from 0, which is our correlation coefficient. All right, so our critical value, I just used table I here. And again, going with degrees of freedom, which is 4. And our alpha value, what were we looking at? Alpha equals 0.05. We use table I, and we're getting a critical value at plus or minus 0.811. So drawing the number line here, plotting R at 0.842, our decision is to reject the null hypothesis. All right, step 4, determine the regression line by hand, meaning use the formulas for A and B. So A turns out, remember, A would be the y-intercept and B is going to be our slope here. So our equation is that this y prime, we'll call it, is equal to negative 1.918. And please try your best to round these out to 3 decimal places as well. You could still check this by constructing a scatter plot on the calculator, and we see that it matches. So summarize the results. This is where we want to say there is a significant linear relationship at this result as we reject the null hypothesis between the age of a child and the number of cavities they have. Then we're going to use this equation found up here to answer number 7, where x is just going to be 11, and we get about 4 cavities. So we could round to the closest whole number that's here. All right, and then looking at 2 problems for chapter 11. So for the first one, we make our frequency distribution. We write out our null and alternative hypotheses. Here the alternative hypothesis is the claim, because we want to see if the proportions differ from those of the U.S. Department of Labor. Our critical value here turns out to be 9.210. So we are looking at alpha level at 0.01. So we would be typing in 90% or 99% rather, and then degrees of freedom are just going to be 2. Calculate chi-square, we get 5.496, which is to the left of our critical value, so we do not reject the null hypothesis. We would say there is not enough evidence to support the claim that the proportions are different from the U.S. Department of Labor. And then the second one, again, we write out our table here showing our observed versus our expected. Going back to number 1, again, we would take, they actually gave us the numbers here, but in number 2, we have to take the percentages to get the 150, the 22, and the 28. So here the null hypothesis, again, is restating those percentages, and alternative is that the distribution is not the same as the null hypothesis. Question here is, can it be concluded that the distribution is as stated, so our claim is the null hypothesis? Alpha is at 0.10, so go to menu 559, type in 90%. Degrees of freedom, again, are 2. So we get a critical value of 4.605. Chi-square turns out to be 27.753, much larger than the critical value, so we definitely reject the null hypothesis. So we would say there is enough evidence to reject the claim that the distribution is as stated in the null hypothesis. All right, guys, so that wraps everything up. Next item on the list, please make sure that you've been working on your research report. I will be checking over the weekend, Monday, and even throughout next week that you guys have sent that to me, or at least updated it, and then I could see that. And then just prepare very well for the final exam. Please let me know if you have any questions on the directions that I've given you so far of what's going to take place. As always, guys, take care. Let me know if you have any questions.